Hey, everybody, this is Swang Stewart from the Family Stone, and you are watching Musicians Reveal with Joe Kelley.
My next guest here is a multi-talented musician, producer. He is the lead singer with the Family Stone Band. He has also toured, recorded, or produced Neo, K Sloan, Shuggie Otis, and is also a member of one of my favorite bands, Days of Wild. He's currently about to go back on tour. We've been friends with him, man, many years, but he's going strong. We welcome to Musicians Reveal, Swang Stewart. How you doing, Swang?
Doing great, Joe. It's great to see you again. Been a long time, too long.
I know. Yeah, the great days in Greenwich Village and Bleecker Street.
Hard to believe how much time has gone by. Over 20 years. I've been almost 25 now, as a matter of fact. 1998 is when I made my Days of Wild debut / initiation.
Now, how did you hear about Days of Wild to make you come down to meet up with Guy Oshis and company?
That's a little involved. I was just out of school, didn't know anybody, was looking to get some gigs, was looking to make the rounds, happened to be downtown Greenwich Village, and they were still playing, I think, Monday nights at the bitter
Okay.
end. This is 97, 90. No, this is 98. Had to be 98. Saw that they were playing Prince music, which right away caught my eye. I'd been a long time, massive fan. So
Mhm.
just went to check them out and then kept coming back, here and there. Eventually, as they are wont to do, they get everybody up on stage and it becomes this massive party.
Right.
So eventually found my way up there and got to know them a little bit. And I think the way it happened was they didn't have a bass player to cover a particular Monday night. So I guess either I volunteered or was asked to do the Monday night hit with them on bass.
Oh,
And
okay.
playing Prince music on bass, I mean, as you can imagine, you can't just put anybody in that slot. So I did my best. It was enough to at least either impress or fool them or both into keeping me around. So
That's right.
that's how that got underway.
Yeah, and you were right up front with them, keyboards and singing as well. I got to ask you about Days of Wild. Okay, let's say Guy Oshis puts out the call, we got this gig, and then whoever shows up, or is it more coordinated? Who's going to be
Oh,
there that night?
a little of both.
Okay.
uh, he'll put out the call and let everybody know, the when and the where. A lot of times, even we're surprised. It could be, four of us. It could be 20 of us. But as long as the word is out there in the street, and the family gets the notification that there's an event happening, uh,
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen. It's quite the musical co-op, so to speak.
Yeah, you've had great musicians in the band and singers as well. And of course, Guy Oshis. I still crack up. Guy Oshis, the nicest guy, 3 drums, but he's got the cymbal, the snare, and the kick drum, right?
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And
And
his philosophy is if you can't make it work with those three, then you probably can't make it work.
okay. Now he uh he also talks throughout the whole gig. You can hear him instructions or whatever conversations going on. Did it ever make it disconcerting for you, or it was funny?
Oh, thankfully, he's very forgiving
Okay.
when it comes to that. It's such a groove that there's a lot of things you hear him talking and giving instructions and calling solos and calling parts, calling keys. But it's a lot of it's just so intuitive and sort of unspoken that a lot of stuff just sort of happens on its own, and it's a musical conversation that we're having anyway. So there's not as much need for he knows who he's got with him
Yeah.
and with what the pedigree is. So he's got a lot of faith in us.
Yeah, yeah, it's great group of funk and roll, a lot of Prince, a lot of Sly Stone stuff, some original Days of Wild, and you've had a lot of special guests throughout the years join Days of Wild on stage. Who were some of the cats that showed up that you were blown away with, and it was like an honor to have on stage with you?
Ooh, yeah. Joss Stone, came to see us a couple of times and sang a bit. Uh, Gavin DeGraw brought her
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and he was a friend of ours on the Bleecker
Right.
Street, Greenwich Village circuit. Who else? Well, Rachel Platten started with us, and of course, everybody knows her from the Fight Song, which became her big hit
Mhm.
a few years ago. In just about every Super Bowl ever since.
Right.
Uh,
Good.
so she
Right.
started with us. Who else? It's funny. Stanley Jordan came to see us a bunch of times, but never wanted to come up and jam, and I always
Oh,
regretted that.
really?
We tried to poke and prod, time and again, but he was just sitting back, taking in the groove and enjoying the music, and no pressure on us to, see a phenom out there keeping his
Right.
eye on us. Who else?
Some guys with the time, right?
Oh yes,
Right.
Tori Ruffin of the time,
Mhm.
Jelly Bean, Mike Scott. These guys, again, wonderful friends, great people, but the pressure was on those nights. We had to really bring it because their background. They'll easily wipe the floor with anybody who's not prepared. So those were
Yeah, I mean,
wonderful.
you guys built up a great following and, you know, got noticed with the Paisley Park crew and Prince. You
Yeah,
guys, how did you guys know that Prince was kind of feeling you guys and onto you because and eventually play it was the first celebration, right?
the very first one. Yeah,
Okay.
2000, June of 2000.
So
How did that happen? I've got to go back. It might have been through Mike Scott or Morris Hayes or both.
okay.
When they were in town with Prince's tour at the time, I guess this was pre New Papa Soul, so it had to be Love for One Another, that era, that period, 97 or so. Um, I guess
Yeah.
they had gotten
Yeah.
they made their way to the village,
Mhm.
and Mike Scott was in the crowd one night, and I guess they brought him up to sit in. And next thing you know, there was an invitation to for passes to the show. I think in Jersey, PNC Bank, and we stayed in touch ever since then. And I guess maybe they told Prince about us, or maybe he was
Oh, okay.
already aware. We might have been on the radar already. But fast forward a few years later, the celebration is announced, and a call was made or to a guy or an email
Right. Mhm.
inviting us to come play at Paisley Park. And I don't know that I was supposed to go. There was, a limited number of slots for the band.
Right.
But I think the bass player we had at the time, I think his brother got married that weekend, if I'm remembering right. So I was the second call.
Yeah.
And I think I waited for him to finish asking before I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." Pretty sure I
Right.
waited.
Yeah.
Um, it was a
So
wonderful
you
night.
so you got there. I remember when we talked maybe once or twice back, the air conditioning went on at Paisley Park, right?
I
I
forgot
remember that
about that.
sticks in my mind.
I had heard so many things about. I think it might have been my first time to Minneapolis. I'm not sure. Years, memory. Um, but if I recall correctly, I had prepared myself for the fact that it's considerably cooler in Minneapolis, so I needn't worry about um, being because obviously it was June in New York, so it was already warm here,
Right.
80s, mid 80s. We get to Minneapolis and it's the hottest day of the year there, and the air conditioner is not working at
Oh,
Paisley. So of course,
yeah.
and we had the sound check might have been longer than the gig. So
Oh,
we're
okay.
in there sweltering, putting in but hey, we were at Paisley Park. No one was going to tell us that,
Yeah.
you know,
There's a
no,
limited
no,
amount of
no.
musicians who get that invite to play.
Oh man, I
Yeah.
I was on cloud nine. It was 24 hours, and I don't remember sleeping. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
common Prince story. You fly out, you make music all day and night, and you sleep whenever you
Yeah.
can, if that. So it was kind of like that. But what a wonderful gig and what a wonderful opportunity. Um,
Were you able to run into Prince while you were there?
Completely by accident, yeah.
Oh, how'd that happen?
I think because the sound check went over, or it
Oh,
went
okay.
longer than anticipated.
Mhm.
And we wanted to get something to eat, but everyone who had been assigned by Prince to take care of us had gone elsewhere because the sound check had run so long. So maybe they were getting some sleep at the time. So we just started wandering around Paisley Park after it was closed and
Okay.
thinking we were safe to do that. And he came walking out of Studio A and was very friendly but very brief.
Mhm.
Probably surprised to see us, or maybe not. I don't know. But carefully made his way into the kitchen area and kept
Mhm.
his eye on us while he watched us leave. So
Oh,
it
okay.
was, yeah, just making sure that some strangers weren't wandering around the house. He knew
Yeah,
who we
just
were. But, you know,
yeah, hang out in a closet at night or something.
exactly.
Yeah.
No stowaways allowed
That's
in
right.
this
No
thing.
stowaways. Exactly. So moving, we're gonna fast forward. We got lots to talk about in between, but fast forward to the Family Stone band, the Family Stone,
Mm.
Jerry Martini starting it up again. You become the lead singer, keyboardist. You're up front. That connection. How did this happen? I mean, it's amazing that it's still going on. The music of the Family Stone, Sly and the Family Stone.
It's incredible, and what a year we're coming into. We'll talk about that as
Mhm.
well, but it's going to be a pretty banner year for the Sly fans, Sly Stone himself, and the extended Family Stone. How did that happen? We got to go back to Guyocious. Actually, he had a good relationship. Of course, you know he played with Sly during the
Right.
'80s as part
Mhm.
of the new Family Stone back then, as they were known. And so he had maintained good relations with Jerry Martini and Greg Errico, the original drummer of Sly and the Family Stone. And he had, what should I say, Guyocious had a birthday party gig for Sly every year
Oh, I
in
remember
March.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we would do this every year. Some years it would be at BB King's, may it rest in peace, New York City.
Yeah.
BB King's club, sometimes downtown in the village, but very often it would be at BB King's, either in the main room, the big room, or Lucille's, the adjacent restaurant.
Okay.
And this particular year, it was Sly's birthday, and he got Greg Errico and Jerry Martini to fly into New York for it. And I reconnected with Jerry. We had met years ago, but I'm not sure that he even would remember. And we got to jam a little bit early 2000s, somewhere around there in New York with Guy Oshus again.
Right.
And this particular time, I guess he was looking to shift the lineup of the Family Stone a little bit. Jerry Martini and Greg Rico had been commandeering the new lineup of the band for a number of decades at this point. And Jerry, being the go-to guy in charge of the band, had his eyes open for a new front person. And I didn't go there, looking for a gig or audition or anything like that. It was just a jam session, and whatever I did seemed to impress him a little bit. He took my number, maybe called me about a week later, and said, "Listen, Swang, I think you're great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gotta go now. No, but no, no, but wait, 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 wait."
Right.
That kind of thing. I
Right.
didn't think there was anything more to it than, I just, I thought we were just, making a connection or keeping in contact. But he said, "If I can make this happen, would you want to do it with us?" And again, had to wait for him to finish asking before I said yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great honor. I mean, a legendary musician like that.
Man, I would have been, like I said, I would have been happy just to have somebody with that background and that sort of legendary status in the business, just to have him say, "Hey, you're pretty good at what you do." That's
Mhm.
enough for me.
Yeah.
If he
Right.
if he hung up on me after that, I would have been totally fine. But for him to double down and make me an offer like that was, I was still pinching myself. You know,
So what year was that it became official you were going to be the front person for the Family
that
Stone?
was okay. That was 2017. So
Oh,
maybe
okay.
second quarter 2017. I did my first gig in August of 2017 in Asheville, North Carolina, another great music city.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was I got a friend who saw you at the Mohegan Wolf Den. We used to go there a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the gig when you played there, and he came back. He goes, "Man, I just saw a great concert, the Family Stone." I said, "Hey, my friend Swang's the lead singer in that group." Yeah, you played there a couple times, right?
We did, yeah.
Yeah,
It's been a few years, so fingers crossed we can get back because I love that venue, and
yeah,
people people get up and dance, and that's for a casino gig. We can't say that about every casino we play, which is, a good number of them, a handful, about maybe half dozen throughout the year. But that's the place where they kind of get a little loose, a little funky in there. So fingers
Yeah.
crossed we get back to Wolf's Den. Shout out to Wolf's Den.
Yeah, the Wolf Den, Mohegan Sun. Actually, the Mohegan Sun's the last concert we saw Prince in 2013 at the big arena there. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We moved up here to Saratoga Springs area, and it's like we're so used to the casinos in Connecticut being so flashy and everything like that. It's nice up here, but it's not Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun.
A little different, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Every local area has its own vibe when it comes to that. So New York
right.
included.
Yeah, that's true. So you alluded to a busy year coming up, and tell us some of the things that are starting immediately as far as gig wise.
Okay, so February 1st, we have Thunder Valley Casino in Northern California with War and Tower Power on the bill with us. So anybody in California area may want to look into that February 1st. But this is a big year for Sly and the Family Stone, the original Sly and the Family Stone, because Sly Lives, Amir Questlove Thompson has produced what essentially people are calling a sequel to The Summer of Soul, which they won an Oscar with. And anyone who's seen Summer of Soul knows that Sly and the Family Stone, one of the big headliners in that documentary, in that concert back in the late 60s. And now he's produced Sly Lives, this documentary about, the life and times of Sly Stone and Sly and the Family Stone. They had the premiere at Sundance this past week. Jerry Martini, Greg Errico, Fun Stone, Sly's daughter, and Novena and Sylvester, her brother and sister, made their way out to Sundance. And it was evidently a huge success. So that's premiering on Hulu and Disney, I believe, February the 13th.
Oh,
So
wow. It's not too far off.
No, just a couple of weeks. So the Family Stone's going to be celebrating this all year. This is a big event for us, big milestone. And we're immensely grateful to Questlove and his team, along with Arlene, Sly's manager, Monique Linder, our manager, Jim Gilbuena, our whole team. I know I'm shouting a lot of people out that
No,
may
that's
be off
right.
the radar.
Keep shouting.
These people are off the radar for a lot of your listeners, but trust and believe when I tell you, these are names that you don't know, but you know their work, because if we're able to get up there on stage and play this music and make these kinds of events happen for the fans, there are a lot of people working behind the scenes to make that happen. And we're really super excited to be involved in this, tangential way to the Sly Lives documentary.
Have you seen some of the footage from the documentary?
It's going to be incredible. That's all I can really tell you
Okay.
about. And there are a lot of surprises. So
Right.
I would definitely make a point of those of you who are streamers out there, and I know there's a lot of you.
Right.
February 13th.
I got the Hulu subscription. I just got billed for it, so I'm in the starting gate for you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
As expected, Joe Kelley. Joe Kelley is everywhere.
No, I don't know about that, but yeah.
And ready for anything.
Yeah, that's right. So, this popped into my head. Speaking of Greg Errico, did you ever see that picture? And something I barely, especially in later years, he actually was with Prince with his arm around Prince, hugging him at BB King's backstage. Did you ever see that photo?
Okay, so there's a story behind that.
Okay.
I was there that night.
Okay.
That was a Larry Graham show at BB King's,
Right.
2010, I want to say. And I remember it very vividly because, first of all, may he rest in peace, that was the night that Gary Scheider of P-Funk passed away.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And
Yeah.
so as we're waiting for the show to start, Greg is there. And, I had a relationship with Greg by way of Guy Otis again. So we had exchanged some hellos and everything. And he went to sit in his booth to see the show with Will Lee of Paul Schaefer's band. Yeah.
Right.
And so we got the word, and we spent a little bit of time remembering Gary that night. And at this point, we really didn't know that Prince was there. And if Greg knew, because he had already seen Larry and spoken to Larry that night,
Yeah.
he wasn't letting anybody in on it. But
Yeah.
I think that's probably, if I recall correctly, that's where the photo was taken. Everybody was dressed in white,
Yeah. Yeah.
or Larry's band, Graham Central Station. They were all dressed in white, and I think Prince wore a white suit to
Right.
to be an extended member. And
Mhm.
yeah, he came up to jam that night on Thank You during the encore, and that was a nice surprise. It was good to be there,
Mhm.
and that's where I think that photo came from, backstage at
Yeah,
EB.
that photo always takes me back. Like, you never see someone putting their arm around Prince, like, hey, just like a regular buddy, and Prince looking at the camera and Greg smiling.
No,
So
no, no.
yeah, that is rare. That is rare.
That's that's one for the history books. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I told Greg, hold on to that one and keep it in the same place.
That's right. Yeah. So another thing, we were talking off air, you've got some more action on the cruises. How did the Family Stone Band get involved with cruises, and what's coming up?
So there's a charter company called Star Vista Live,
Mhm.
and it's run by a former music industry executive named Alan Rubens. Alan
Okay.
is a super huge music fan, especially music from 60s, 70s, and he's put together some tremendous lineups on these cruises. The first one I think we participated in is called the Flower Power Cruise.
Okay.
So a lot of groups from the late 60s, the Woodstock era, so to speak.
Right.
Um, and we became involved via Flower Power Cruise, but they've been expanding every year, adding more themes, and um, their season is expanding. So we've been very fortunate to play on Flower Power Cruise, the
Mhm.
70s rock and romance cruise. Then
Wow.
then we pivoted into the disco cruise. This was during COVID. Our friends, the Ohio Players, couldn't make it, so gave us a
Oh,
call
okay.
and asked us to step in. Um, so that's how we ended up on the disco cruise. And there was one Soul Train cruise we do just about every year with our friends. Urban Guerrilla Orchestra from Philadelphia. Shout out to UGO.
Oh. Oh, yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Henry.
That's they're like the house band, right? They play just about every day?
Okay, so yeah, they are the house band. They back up a lot of the performers on the cruise. We become very good friends with Mary Jane Girls,
Oh,
and
okay, yeah.
they were backing Mary Jane Girls, backing Evelyn Champagne King, Peaches and Herb. I mean, I don't know when they find the time. They should be taking 3 months off after all of these cruises where they work so hard, but they're
Right.
very dear friends, and we're looking forward again to second half of March. This year, the Family Stone will be participating in the 70s rock and romance cruise, right back to back with Flower Power Cruise. We're not even getting off the ship. So.
Wow. How many shows you do on a typical cruise?
Well, the cruises only last a week, and there's so many acts. I wish we could do more than two, but it usually
Mhm.
ends up being two plus the
Okay.
jam sessions. So
Oh, okay.
we're gonna we're gonna try to do more of those if we can as well, with the all-star lineups of the various bands and participants.
I mean, yeah, I think that's Boogie one with Boogie Cindy, our mutual friend. I think the 70s rock and romance, I think that's the one they may be on. So I gotta
Fingers
double check.
crossed. Yeah, we
I
always
saw,
love.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You guys got a nice rapport.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So the familystoneband.com, is that the official website?
That's the official website, thefamilystoneband.com. Absolutely. You
Right.
can stay in touch with us there. And of course, all the social media links will be there as well: Facebook, Instagram, all those cool
And of
things that
course,
kids are
your
doing.
own, the rspexperiment.com.
Ah, yes, exactly. Well, thank you for uh, giving me the shout outs that you have over the years, Joe. I really appreciate that. rspexperiment.com. If that's a mouthful for you, then swangmusic.com will take you there.
Oh, okay. There you go. Hey, I wanted to talk. I don't know. Maybe you told me before, but it just didn't register enough. But I didn't know you went to Hartt School of Music in West Hartford.
Absolutely. Yes, I did.
Yeah, yeah.
Heart pride, everybody.
That's right. And West Hartford got pretty upscale recently, last few years. Yeah.
You
Nice
know,
place.
I got to say, I'm glad I graduated when I did because it was a long time ago. I probably couldn't afford to be a
Right.
poor college student there now these days, but beautiful place. And what an education, what an opportunity, just, a bus ride away from Berkeley. So we had a lot of bus trips up there to,
Wow.
interact and network with all of the young Berkeley students. And when I was there, Dr. Jackie McLean was running the jazz department. So
Oh, okay.
uh,
Yeah.
so we could hang with the Berkeley cats.
Yeah.
we,
That's
we
right.
held our
Yeah.
own.
Yeah. It's always cool, like listen to the conversation of musicians that go to the focus on the music. We went to Berkeley for John Blackwell's daughter's scholarship concert after she passed away. And we were in line and just people were talking all up. Yeah. It was interesting hearing all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When music nerds get together, it's
Yeah.
always
That's right.
it's fun to eavesdrop.
Yeah. Right. That's what I was doing.
I heard that.
Yeah. So did you grow up in Pennsylvania or New York?
I'm born and bred in New York City.
Oh,
I,
okay.
I was born in Asbury Park, New Jersey, originally. So another music
Oh,
city
okay. Yep.
that a lot of people are familiar with for its association with Springsteen and the Stone Pony and places like that. So,
Yeah, I was born in
but,
Orange, New Jersey. So
okay. So
yeah,
shout
yeah.
out to Orange, shout out to
We
Asbury.
yeah, lived in Newark for 2 years and then we moved up to Connecticut. But we got New Jersey in our DNA, right?
Yes, you do. Yeah, you can take us out of New Jersey. But you can't take the New Jersey out of us. You know that.
That's right. Yeah. Now you've we mentioned some of the stuff in the beginning, the intro to Swing. Have worked with a lot of talented people. You've produced different artists, and the last time we spoke, K Sloan and yourself had a great release. K Sloan, I believe it was an EP, Motown soulful style, really great music. And maybe to refresh or for the first time our TV, our YouTube watchers, the project with K Sloan, how did that come about?
Okay. So I was playing every Monday with the house band at Prohibition, a club on the
Okay.
Upper West Side of Manhattan, New York. And it was a jam session slash open mic, lots of talented people coming through. And we made it a nice little event. Shaka Khan came through one night, Felicia Collins from, again, um, David Letterman Band, Paul
Right.
Schaefer's band. And I think Kay came in pretty early on when we were just getting the jam session underway. And both she and another artist I work with, Jason Gill, were early participants in
Mhm.
this jam session. And I guess we took a meeting not too long after making music a little bit informally. And she approached me and said, I'd like to make an album. I'm from Detroit. I'd like to make an
Mhm.
EP, or I don't know if it was an album or an EP at that point, but I'd like to record some of my songs in the style of this the Motown '60s soul style.
Mhm.
And I had been producing for a while, and I guess maybe she got wind of the fact that I was still using tape and a lot of vintage gear. So maybe she thought, well, if I get these songs together in this way, it would be appropriate to record them using these tried and true old school methods. And I said, listen, if you're down for that, when can we get started? And the Blank Pages EP is what it ended up being.
Right.
And that was released, I think, 2018.
Mhm.
Forgive me if I'm mistaking that, but a number of years ago now. And then Kay became a mom not long after that. So she's taken
Oh,
some time
okay.
off. But I'm happy to let you know for the first time that something new should be coming this year. If not a full length album, then a follow up EP that we're working on right now. So she's excited about making music again. And her daughter's a little older now. So she's able to find a little bit more time for that.
So business is on again, right?
We're on popping.
Yeah. Where do you record in the New York City area? Where do you like to create?
The studio is called Mighty Toad. Uh,
Okay.
Funny name for a great place. In the sort of Park Slope, South Slope area of Brooklyn.
Okay.
Um, And again, wonderful collection of vintage gear. Shout out to Craig Dreyer, who owns and operates. Great engineer, great producer in his own right. Wonderful musician, a great collaborator. And we're gonna keep going with this old school method as long as we can. Knock on wood. The tape companies can stay in business. Obviously, the demand is a little lower these days with the digital revolution having happened. But we believe in working this way for as long as we can. And
Right.
the enthusiasm of younger singer songwriters and musicians and even rappers and poets about recording this way is pretty mind-boggling to me. I mean, I being a bit of an older dog, I obviously my enthusiasm for it comes from just my favorite records having been made using tape and a lot of the tube processing and the vintage gear, what is now vintage gear.
Mhm.
But they're so excited to use it, and we're getting great results. So we'll keep it going.
So with the tape, recording the analog and stuff, does it have that? Because I know I've got radio shows that I want to convert digitally, but the wear, some of it you can really tell. Does it do the same with current day tape?
The formulas are good with
Okay.
current tape. They're very strong, and if you're working with again a great engineer who can get you good sounds coming off of tape, which is a lot harder than it might sound. And if you have the proper storage for it, then it'll hold, it'll stay strong. But you do have to take care, But these are the things that we love about it. We love the fact that we have to take care of music and take care and take our time and do things. And the idea is to learn and get better at what you're doing.
Right.
I feel like if maybe the project is not heard by millions, but if we learn something and we grow and continue to improve as artists and musicians, then
Right.
that's mission accomplished for me.
So do you convert to digital, and what do you lose if you do that? I mean, just to
Well,
have as a safekeeping.
yeah, mainly for storage purposes.
Okay.
We'll keep backups and backups and backups of things because you never know what's going to happen. God forbid, but this whole Southern California, LA situation is really impacting the wildfire situation out there, really impacting us
Yeah.
in the industry. So I think everybody is kind of rallying around uh, the our colleagues and
Mhm.
trying to support them and give them as much inspiration as we can. And if there is a silver lining in this, then we have definitely learned to um, take care of the work that we're doing because it's important to people.
Yeah, yeah. To pass on when we're no longer here, and to have in safekeeping while we're here, right?
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
throwing my arms around everybody out there, West. And
Yeah, a lot a
stay
lot of
strong.
pain, and yeah, I'm sure you got tons of friends out there, so
Sure, definitely. Yeah. Lots of connections and
yeah.
contacts through by way of the family Stone, really, because as you know, they started in Northern California, but
Mhm.
Sly has been in Southern California for quite some time. So hoping everybody is doing well and staying safe.
Hey, did you, feel an earthquake this morning? Because we had one up here. It was only 3.8, but things were shaking.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
This is not something we're used to. I didn't feel it where I was, no, but I guess was it last year, year before?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So
One
this
in
is
New
happening more
Jersey, yeah.
frequently now.
Yeah, well, like 10:20 this morning, my wife and I were, like, sitting around, and the couches started to shake, and our dog was shaking too, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on here?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is very unique for those of you out west. You guys are a little more accustomed to it, but oh boy, yeah.
yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about all that.
Yeah, I know. Well, you being out in New York City, or, in one of the boroughs out there, just some great clubs, that we went to and you've visited and played in. You mentioned BB King's before being one of the ones that you really miss. How about some other ones that are defunct clubs that you love going to see play or play at that are no longer here?
Well, I mean, the first when you first say that, the first thing that comes to mind is I wish and they made a business decision to stop hosting music. That's the Village Underground.
Oh, okay.
They've gone strictly stand-up comedy, which is great because we have a lot of colleagues in that field as well. So we're glad that they have opportunities as well. But that was a wonderful place to play, and so many people coming through there. I remember jamming with Mike Phillips there.
Oh, wow.
Gosh,
Saxophonist.
when
Yeah.
was it? Yeah, this is 2007 or 8. I want to
Mhm.
say maybe a little earlier than that, 2006, somewhere around there. I remember him coming through and just doing this freestyle rap while he's playing, and just
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So it was that kind of a thing. So you definitely miss that. And of course, going back some decades, the bottom line was the place in New York City. If you played the bottom line and you did well,
Mhm.
you could pretty much write your ticket after that. And I remember hearing stories from actually members of the Family Stone were at the bottom line when Prince played there on the Prince tour.
Wow.
And everybody was there,
Mhm.
from the Rolling Stones, Hall and Oates. I mean, it was a pretty monumental time. And not long after that, of course, we know that a couple years later he opened for the Stones, but I think that was actually their first time seeing him live. So
Wow.
it was
Yeah. He
that was
impressed
the
him.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the place. The bottom line was the tastemaker place in its
Mhm.
time. And then of course later on, other places that came along were very similar, like LeBar Bat. I remember LeBar Bat, such a
Mhm.
great place to play. That was, gosh, I don't even know how long it's been gone now. But it was a different time. People are doing what they do now, and there's still plenty of great places to hear music. Um,
Did you ever play the Ninny Factory?
I did, yes,
Yeah.
exactly once. That was a
I saw
wonderful place too.
Yeah, it had,
All
like,
of
different rooms and everything I saw
yes,
Bernie Worrell in the big room, then I saw Jeff Lee Johnson in the small. Yeah.
and what I think people don't necessarily get from if they see videos online, a lot of times these places look bigger than they actually are. These are little rooms, and you're
Right.
seeing some great like legendary people and incredible
Mhm.
musicians who play with everyone under the sun, and they're just like you know 10, 15 feet away from you,
Yeah.
and there's a handful of people in the room, or what feels like a handful of people. So I love that whole scene, and I miss it terribly. I'm not a nostalgic person,
Mhm.
said the guy who's still recording the tape, but
Right. Yeah, there you go, contradiction.
so maybe I'm giving myself away here, but I sure
Right.
do miss a lot of those places. But new places will pop up, when I feel like the scene will come back. It'll be different, it'll be new, but young musicians are doing some pretty incredible things. So as long as there are people who are enthusiastic about playing, there will be scenes and gigs to take in.
I remember going to, Irving Plaza for John Scofield's record release party. So before we briefly met him and, schmoozed a little bit, and then I was against the railing on looking down, and the girl next to me, she go, "Oh, you're gonna love this band opening up." She goes, they're incredible. Soul Live opened up for him." So I was like, "Wow, I
Can
never
you
heard of them."
imagine?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know they were tight with John Scofield, so
Mhm.
probably still are. Yeah.
What a bill, though. Soul
Oh, yeah,
Live
I know.
opening for John Schofield. That's almost too much to take in at once.
I know. Yeah, with just the power of the organ and the bass on there, and just great.
Did, were they? Was it just the three of them?
Yeah, it was just the Evans brothers and Eric Krasno.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Wow, what a show.
So, yeah, they were a great opening act.
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
it.
Other people you've worked with, Neo, right? You toured with him?
So his first record on
Okay.
Def Jam, one with So Sick on it, was called the album was called In My Own Words, and So Sick was the debut single. We did a good number of shows. We did the Letterman show. Um, we did some shows with Keisha Cole, Fantasia, Donnell Jones.
Mhm.
This is early 2000s. Well, I want to say early 2000s, 2006 thereabouts.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that was incredible. And the two quick stories about Neo. First of all, an incredible talent.
Mhm.
Music just flowed out of the guy seemingly effortlessly. But he hadn't worked with a band
Oh, okay.
until, or he didn't have his own band, or didn't have a lot of extensive experience working with live musicians until we started rehearsing with him. And me as a working musician, my feeling is, when I first started playing with bands, I was pretty intimidated, but he jumped into it like he was a veteran already, and it was almost like, man, do you give lessons on how to do this? Because I'd like a refresher course, please, because he
Right.
was incredible. And I'll never forget, going back to Prince though.
Yeah.
One day we were in rehearsal on a break.
Mhm.
Um, I don't remember. Maybe it was lunchtime or something, and I was noodling around at the keyboard, and I started playing the progression of Ballad of Dorothy Park. And
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't tell anyone that I was playing it. I didn't, give any hints as to what I was doing. But he immediately started singing the song with me. So being a non-instrumentalist,
Uh-huh.
and being, back then he was in his 20s.
Right.
Um, I was kind of I was very impressed, being a Prince fan, that he didn't need any prompting about
He
what.
was a natural, yeah.
Yeah,
Jump right in, yeah.
very much. Natural is the word. Yeah, he's an
Yeah.
incredible talent, incredible songwriter, as we know. He had just finished, if I'm not mistaken, he had finished writing "Irreplaceable" for Beyonce
Oh,
just as we
okay.
began rehearsals for that first tour that we did.
And Shuggie Otis, another collaboration yourself. How'd you get with Shuggie?
Okay, so are you ready for this fairy tale?
Let's hear
Um,
it.
I remember being a teenager, and a cousin of mine said, this was in the early 90s. He said, you have to find this record called Inspiration Information by Shuggie Otis. Never heard of him before. But
Mhm.
I remember, I'll never forget, he says, it sounds like the Beatles and Sly Stone made a record together.
Wow.
And then I said, well, I've got to hear this. So I think I found it secondhand at Vintage Vinyl in
Mhm.
Jersey, and went home, and first of all, I looked at the cover, and my cousin and Shuggie kind of favored each other. So I thought maybe he might
Okay.
have been playing a prank on me, like this is his record,
Yeah.
because he was a
Right.
musician also. But
Uh-huh.
I went home and I played it. I was an instant fan, and sort of made myself over the years aware of Shuggie's history, which is very storied. And those of you who don't know much about his history, definitely look into it, because it's an interesting. His life has been, and his career have been pretty movie worthy. um, but then, everybody kind of lost touch, and
Mhm.
they weren't really sure where he was, what he was doing. He would pop up here and there, but he was kind of off the grid for a long time. And I became friends with. Okay, a lot of my friends were Shuggie fans.
Oh, okay.
So a friend of mine sent me a link to a website and said, "Do you think this is real?" And I clicked on it. It was kind of this no-name URL, nothing memorable, but here's what is supposed to be a recent picture of Shuggie Otis, and the text on the website was sort of back and forth between first person and third person. Shuggie is doing this, and I'm doing that. So we weren't really
Uh-huh.
sure what to make of it. But I think, just out of sheer curiosity, I sent an email to the contact page,
Oh,
and
okay.
someone got back to me. And not long after that, the word went out on this same website, which I had bookmarked by then, that Shuggie was looking to put together a new band for a new release.
Mhm.
I sent this same email a link to something I had played live, and I got a phone call, and it was Shuggie.
Wow.
And he said, "I'm going to go do a European tour. The band is already put together, but
Mhm.
once we hit the States next year, they're going to re-release my album on Sony." And I'm trying to take all of this in. But the end of the conversation was, "I want you to play keyboards for me. Please say that you'll do it."
Wow.
And I
And this is
was
before you met in person?
before we met in person. Yeah, as a matter
Okay.
of fact, the first time we met in person, it was a few days before my birthday
Uh-huh.
in 2013, and he came to New York to play the Highline Ballroom. And I remember it was a showcase for the Central Park Summer Stage agency, whoever was handling Central Park Summer Stage. So a lot of the acts who were there that night also played Summer Stage that same year, 2013, including Shuggie and the band. Hiatus Coyote, I believe, was there. I believe the DJ that night, believe it or not, was Cool Herc. So
Oh,
it was
wow.
pretty monumental night at the High Line. And that was my first Shuggie show, very little rehearsal. I met the band that day. Brandon Coleman from Kamasi Washington's band was the second keyboardist, or I guess I was the second keyboardist at that point in time. He left not long after that gig to go with Alicia Keys and left me hanging just as the sole keyboardist in Shuggie's
Yeah.
band. So yeah, but that's how it got started with Shuggie, and we went around the world several times between 2013, 2016, playing for so many people. Joe, I could go on all day about the stories on Shuggie's tour. It was monumental. It was a
Wow.
big event anyway because it was considered his comeback. You know, they had
Mhm.
re-released his album on Sony that year, so we did the Fallon show with the Roots. That's how I got to play with the Roots, Questlove and the Roots. And
Mhm.
then one quick story before we leave Shuggie. We went to Australia,
Okay.
and this was in March. So I got to we got to the Byron Bay Blues Festival. You know how these festivals are. It's called the Byron Bay Blues Festival, but I think the headliner was like Paul Simon, Lionel Richie, Santana,
Yeah, yeah.
everybody but the blues, right? So
Yeah.
but it was a great experience. And these festivals, they put you in like a common area. You have
Mhm.
a dressing room area, but the dressing room is sort of adjacent to everyone else's, and then there's a huge common area where everybody eats and kind of hangs out. There's a few journalists in there sometimes, and I'll never forget being in the sort of like this commissary makeshift cafeteria buffet area, and I found myself standing next to Robert Plant
Oh,
from
wow.
Led Zeppelin, who was there, I think, with a bluegrass project that he had been working on for a few years. I don't know if Alison Krauss
Alison
was with
Krauss?
him.
Oh,
It
okay.
might have been. It might have been a part of that project, but either way, he
Okay.
was there performing with that project, and
Mhm.
he was speaking with a journalist as I'm he wasn't on camera. It was an audio interview, so I didn't have to worry about being seen on camera behind him, stuff in my face. But I'll never forget, as he's talking to the journalist, he interrupts himself mid sentence because Shuggie came in the front door, and he said, "My God, that's Shuggie Otis right there." And
Mhm.
I leaned in. It is in mid sentence. Robert Plant stops himself, and I leaned over and I say, "Yes, sir. That's actually my boss." And Robert Plant turns to me and says, "Do you think it would be all right if I said hello to him?"
Pretty please, he's asking permission.
I'm like, you don't have to ask me, sir, but I think it would be all right.
That's right. Wow. Did you, did you hit any countries, Taiwan, Hong Kong at all?
No,
Okay.
we did go to Tokyo and did Billboard Tokyo. I believe it was Billboard Tokyo, a couple nights in a row, two shows a night for
Yeah, I
at
heard
least two
the
nights.
time went out there and they were saying, "Yeah, you gotta work for your money out there," right?
Listen, it's a different kind of vibe, different
Mhm.
kind of audience, but
Okay.
nonetheless very appreciative. And but the only way sometimes you're going to know that
Mhm.
is after the show. When
Oh,
you're
okay.
finished and you're kind of just hanging out, they don't want you to leave.
Ah,
They're
okay.
extremely, grateful. They love American music, and it's just a wonderful place. Tokyo. Obviously, we didn't go to any area outside of Tokyo, but um, it's as a New Yorker, I'm used to the noise of the city. It's
Uh,
ominously quiet, even though it's a huge city.
mhm.
Very calm, but everyone's so friendly and nice, and just over the moon about American music. I mean, some of these musicians from Japan, they play American music better than Americans do. So
Yeah,
they
I mean,
know
on
that
you,
very well.
I'm sure you've seen on YouTube some of these bands. What was it? What was the song? It was like the '80s. "Skip to My Lou" by Finest Henderson.
Yeah, and
Have
had
you ever
no
come
idea.
across that band?
Yeah, but I had no idea that if you just listen to it, you
Uh-huh.
think this is, are they from Philly? Are they from Chicago? Something like that. You know what I mean?
Right,
They're
right.
just it's incredible the level of musicianship and the commitment to
Yeah.
playing it authentically is. I mean, we all know, the funk scene in Japan, very, very. I mean, if funk is struggling anywhere, it is not in Japan because
Yeah.
they love to see George Clinton. He's got to go there once a year, even in his 80s.
Mhm.
Just I can go on and on.
Yeah. The funk will never die, right?
Never, never, just
No,
multiple.
that's right. Hey, I something came in my mind. You were the one who were pushed me to follow and get to know Raul Midon, right?
Was that me?
I thought
Yes,
it was
it
you
might
way,
have
way
been.
back. I mean, this goes maybe when you first came to New York or not too
Yeah,
long after.
yeah, it wasn't too. It was a pretty mind blowing experience as well. We got to be backstage on his Letterman show appearance, thanks to his wife, Kat, who's an
Mhm,
incredible person and such a support for his career.
mhm.
And I mean, as you know, what a phenomenal talent, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's going back to maybe 2004ish, 2005, somewhere
Right.
around there. I want to say. I remember, and the reason I remember that is because I turned some people on to him who were members of the music club, MPG Music Club at the time.
That's right.
So they
Yeah.
started. So I mentioned it to the music club members, and then they started showing up to all his shows because
Right.
he had a residency at Joe's Pub at the time. I remember that's what it
Oh,
was.
okay.
Yeah.
So were you disappointed when the MPG Music Club Prince called it quits on that?
You know, I was, of course, but
Mhm.
on the other hand, um, Prince was the kind of artist who did what he felt was right in the moment. And if you're a fan, and if you had been a fan for some time, you kind of came to expect that things weren't going to last forever.
Yeah.
So I think the lesson we can all learn from this, is that life is very short,
Mhm.
um, and we should try to live in the moment as much as we can. Um, I have a friend, or not a friend. He leads a meditation group, and I
Okay.
remember him talking one time about tomorrow never gets here, and I never understood what that meant. And he went into some detail. He said, "Well, what is tomorrow when it arrives? No one says to Joe Kelley, 'Hey, I'm glad to be here tomorrow.'"
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, and yesterday is not today anymore. So
Yeah.
I've really come to. I don't want to get too deep, but I've really come to appreciate the present moment and to try to make the most of it as much as we can.
Yeah,
Um,
it's tough as humans, but you're right. We should try
yeah,
to get to that spot.
yeah. I mean, we're always making plans for the future, and some of us, like me, we can dwell on the past
Mhm.
to the point where we miss what's happening right in front of us. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to be more aware of that, and that comes with age too. The older
that's
I
true.
get, the more aware I am of the present moment. So
You're still younger than me, so you know, hopefully we got a few
I'm
more.
working on it though, Joe. I'm trying to catch you, brother.
So, hey, let me ask you about, I mean, we're both huge fans of Prince music. When you listen to Prince these days, especially after he's gone, what do you kind of gravitate towards since he's passed on?
That's a really, really big question because the catalog is kind of unparalleled.
Mhm,
Um, I have to be honest. I have been excited by some of the things that the estate has put out,
mhm.
and so I of course dug into that a bit when the estate was more actively releasing things. But I also spent a lot of time listening to things that I might have missed at the time of Prince's release of them.
Right.
I've gone back to things and heard some stuff that was a little bit different than I had remembered it. Um, I remember I heard Matt Fink. Shout out to Matt Fink, by the way. We did a great show with him and St. Paul in Minneapolis on October the 1st. And I
Oh,
can't wait to
okay.
do it again because I got to look over the man's shoulder.
Oh,
And
okay.
I shook his hand a bunch of times. I was hoping something would rub off being a keyboard player. But
Yeah,
I
yeah, they're great
remember,
guys. Yeah.
yeah, and he said something like, he said, I remember listening to a Prince album and not really recognizing him in it. And it felt like it was a completely different artist than the one he remembered. And
Mhm.
I found that absolutely fascinating. How many other artists can you say that about, that their catalog is so diverse and skews into so many different territories that it can be hard sometimes to even recognize that this is the same guy who made this album or same songwriter who wrote this song.
Right.
That's going to keep us on our toes forever and a day. As long as I'm alive, I'll be in a recording studio somewhere, laying down a
Mhm.
drum track, and then the first thought that comes to mind, even after all these years, is, would he let me keep that, or would he tell me to do it again? That's the first thought I always
Yeah.
have after I do a take in the studio. Is what would he think about it? He's the litmus test. So
Yeah, just the stuff keeps coming out little by little, and
and
I
we
love
hope
the
for
live
more.
performances. I cut you off. Sorry.
Well, we're hoping for more,
Yeah,
obviously, but listen, Lord knows there's enough for several generations already out there. But the live
yeah,
performances, yeah, like you were saying,
yeah,
those are another gold mine of there's just there was so many concerts, and although he was known for a well rehearsed show with a really
mhm,
tight band 100% of the time, there are always just these little things that as a musician you can look for and listen for that were different. As many of those Love Sexy shows are similar, there's always
mhm.
something there that you can kind of uh, just kind of gravitate towards that you might not hear again on another performance, even though it's the same song, same band, same arrangement. I've really come to. I know I'm going off on a tangent here,
No,
but
no,
I've really come to appreciate a guy like Miko Weaver.
and
Um,
out in Europe now.
yeah,
Yeah.
and going back since in the last maybe 7 8 months, I've listened to a lot of his work for Prince, a lot of the live
Mhm.
shows and otherwise, and I was really kind of taken with the fact that the guy really imitated Prince's playing very well, even
Mhm.
with but managed to also at the same time inject a lot of his own flavor into it. But the guy never made a mistake. And I'm not calling out any names here, but that's not always the case with a lot of musicians. You hear one or two things here and there with some of the other band members, as tight and as well rehearsed as they were. This guy never, and to be a guitar player in Prince's band is high pressure enough, with a
Yeah,
guitarist like
yeah,
being your boss. But the
right.
guy just every time he played something, it was always spot on. And so I don't know if he's watching the musicians reveal, but if he is, Miko,
Yeah.
we're not worthy.
Yeah, Swang gives it, and I give it as well. Miko's a great musician, and we just hope he gets out there more. And I know he's online, but getting out there and playing and letting us see what he's working on. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Now, I tell you real quickly, I had Michael Bland on about a week or two ago, and he was pumped on whatever comes out of Sly's bag of music he's created all these years that nobody's heard it.
Mm,
He says he's hanging around just for that, Michael Bland.
mm.
He's excited.
Yeah, well, we're all excited. But
Yeah,
again, Sly has always thought with his heart,
yeah.
and whenever he feels like it's appropriate, we're here for it. We're here for it all day.
That's right. Yeah. Before we bid adieu, I wanted for you to go over the Family Stone Band current events. I know you mentioned the documentary and then some dates off the top of your head.
Yes, February 1st again is Thunder Valley Casino. I believe that's in Lincoln, California, so
Okay.
up north. And then the cruise circuit will follow, 70s cruise, Flower Power cruise. That'll happen. And then I think right now, Seabreeze Jazz Festival in Florida will
Oh,
be
okay.
at the end of February. I'm sorry, not the end of February, at the end of April. So just in time for spring. So those of you who are down in the area, uh, Seabreeze Jazz Fest, always a good time. Wonderful friends, great musicians, obviously. So we'll be making an appearance there for the first time in a few years. Looking forward to that.
And playing just jazz music, right?
Of course, yes, no, nothing funky at all. Just very, very,
Yeah,
um, very unobtrusive.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Joe Kelley and I can be very sarcastic. We
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
very similar sense of humor.
That's right. Quickly about the live performances. We saw Prince 2001, I think it was, at the Montreal Jazz Fest,
Oh,
and the festival director, they did a documentary years later, and they asked him, "What was your favorite show ever that you saw?" He said that performance 2001 with Prince there was the tops for him over 25, 30 years of the
mm,
festival. So I've yet to see a video of that. I've heard some terrible audio of it, but it was
mhm.
it was the lights were not on the stage for the first half of the show, and it was different. He had his back to the crowd a lot of times. We had the second row, so we could see it.
I guess him playing something like a jazz festival with a jazz festival theme
Right,
um, probably gave him a little bit of an impetus to do something different. You never know what you were going to get, and that was part of the appeal of it all. Again, not not for nostalgia's sake, but just for musical sake. Um, I have to be honest. Popular music in general,
hmm,
um, has become a little less exciting for me since his passing.
yeah,
Things you kind of had to be on your A game as long as that guy was around, and there was the potential for him to one up you, or have his eyes out or his ears open for you.
right,
So I'm hoping that somebody will take. Of course, there will only be one Prince, but maybe someone will take the mantle and sort of um, pick up where he at least left off, or at least grab some inspiration so that we can start challenging each other again as
right.
musicians.
Set that bar high again.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that's a high bar, but you
yeah.
mentioned Montreal. We want to go back to Canada so badly.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
if anybody,
Where'd you play? Where'd you play up there?
oh, okay. So the most recent show that we did, I want to say, I don't know if it was the most recent, but Salmon Arm Festival near Vancouver. That
Oh
was
wow.
monumental. People as far as you could see,
Uh-huh.
um, and it was up in the mountains there. And every time we've ever gone to Canada, though, every time we've gone to any part of it, Montreal, Toronto, we've been so welcomed there. And even when Shuggie used to go,
Uh-huh.
the few times that we went, it's such an incredible place to play, and wonderful people who love music, and culturally so different, but
Right.
immediately feels like home, even for an outsider. So I want to go back to Canada so badly.
I endorse the double bill, the Family Stone and Boogie Wonder Band.
You know what? From Joe Kelley's mouth, you know the rest.
Yeah, right.
Let's
So
make
hey,
it happen.
thanks, brother. Swang Stewart. You can go to rspexperiment.com, swangmusic.com, thefamilystoneband.com. Things are heating up spring, summer. And if you're able to go on the cruise with Swang and the Family Stone, you're in for good cruise, a good week of funk and roll, right?
Oh yes, and what happens there doesn't necessarily stay there. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, we've seen the videos online. I mean, on
Okay, well,
YouTube, music wise. Yeah,
there you go. There you have it. Don't be surprised.
right. Hey, thanks, Swang.
Always a pleasure, Joe. Thanks for having me. And shout out to everybody. Much love. Stay strong. Peace and love.